Australia's announcement to recognize Palestinian statehood at the September UN General Assembly marks one of the most significant diplomatic shifts in decades. Beneath Prime Minister Albanese's rhetoric about seizing a moment of opportunity lies a decision filled with complex geopolitical calculations, competing expert assessments, and profound moral questions about timing, effectiveness, and unintended consequences. The government's position rests on what Foreign Minister Penny Wong calls breaking the cycle of violence through momentum building recognition. This approach challenges decades of bipartisan consensus that Palestinian statehood should emerge from successful negotiation and not preceded them. Academic experts in international law have long debated this sinquishing question. Does a premature recognition create constructive pressure for peace, or that is remove essential negotiating incentives? Evidence from similar cases offer mixed lesson. When the international community recognized Kosovo or South Sudan before full territorial control was established, results varied significantly. Legal scholars note that effective statehood requires not just international recognition, but also a genuine governmental control, defined borders, and capacity for peaceful coexistence with neighbors. Australia's decision hinged on commitments from the Palestinian Authority that warrant rigorous scrutiny. The Palestinian Authority has pledged to demilitarize, hold election within a year, recognize Israel's rights to exist, and excluded Hamas from governance. However, institutional analysis reveal concerning gaps in enforcement mechanism. Consider the electoral commitment. The Palestinian Authority hasn't held election in nearly 2 decades, and previous attempts have been suspended due to security concern and political division. Expert assessments suggest this commitment might prove difficult to implement without fundamental security guarantees and international oversight. The demilitarization pledge represents particular complexities. While this commitment appears substantial, international law experts note that it's raised questions about security arrangements, border control, and the practical mechanics of disarming existing militant groups beyond Hamas. Perhaps the most continuous aspect involves the relationship with Hamas. The government argues that recognition will isolate Hamas by empowering moderate Palestinian leadership. This assessment, however, faced significant scholarly challenge. Security experts point to Hamas' demonstrated capacity to maintain control through force, its ideological commitment to armed resistance, and its extensive tunnel networks and weapon stockpiles. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's characterization of recognition as rewarding terrorism reflects broader concern among security analysis or analysts about inadvertently validating Hamas' October 7 strategy. This perspective, while politically charged, raised legitimate question about incentive structures in conflict resolution. From an international legal perspective, Australia's decision operates within established frameworks recognizing people's right to self-determination. However, legal experts emphasize that recognition typically follows rather than preceded the establishment of effective governmental structures. The 1933 Montevideo Convention outlines traditional statehood criteria: permanent population, defined territory, government, and capacity to enter international relations. Current Palestinian territories partially meet these criteria, but significant gaps remain, particularly regarding territorial control and governmental effectiveness across Gaza and the West Bank. The decision timing raised additional concern with the US under Trump administration. leadership, explicitly opposing premature recognition. Australia risks straining its most crucial strategic alliance. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warning that such recognition could scuttle ceasefire talks, reflects broader American concern about diplomatic sequencing. Alliance management experts suggest that while middle power like Australia can occasionally diverge from major ally position, doing such during active conflict carries heightened risk. The challenge lies in balancing moral leadership aspiration with strategic relationship maintenance. The humanitarian argument for recognition deserves serious consideration. With over 40,000 Palestinian casualties documented and widespread displacement in Gaza, the moral imperative for action is clear. However, policy effectiveness research suggests that symbolic gesture, while important for international legitimacy, rarely produce immediate humanitarian improvements without accompanying enforcement mechanism. The critical question becomes whether recognition will tangibly improve conditions for Palestinian civilians or primarily serve as a diplomatic theater, while fundamentally security and governance challenges remain unaddressed. Australia's Palestinian recognition decision reflects genuine moral conviction, but occurs within a context of enormous complexity and competing expert assessments. While the government's emphasis on building international momentum has merit, the decision's effectiveness ultimately depends on factors largely beyond Australian control. Palestinian Authority capacity for reform, Hamas response, Israel security calculation, and broader regional dynamic. The true test will not be the September announcement itself, but whether the accompanying diplomatic effort can translate recognition into concrete progress toward sustainable peace. Expert consensus suggests that without robust international oversight, mechanism, and genuine security guarantees for all parties, even well-intentioned recognition risks becoming another chapter in what Prime Minister Albanese himself acknowledged as a long history of opportunities not taken. The complexity of this decision demands continuous scrutiny of outcomes rather than simple advocacy for predetermined position. This is Mika Santos, and you're watching Inside OSPO.